Good morning, everyone. Welcome. Shavua Tov. Thank you very much for joining us. Thank you to Raya and Mordechai for helping us make this possible, broadcasting the videos, and you can also find them on YouTube, on our channel, and on our Facebook page. So Shavua Tov, once again, Chodesh Tov. We are starting a new month, the month of Chodesh Elul, a very special month, preparation for Rosh Hashanah, for the beginning of the year. Today, we will talk a bit about personalities and about identifying personalities, all in connection and in relation to our Parsha. So we aren't holding by Tu B'Shvat. We know that the 15th day of Shvat is the beginning of the year for trees. And whenever Tu B'Shvat approaches, we always mention this pasuk, Ki ha'adam eitz hasadeh. For the man is like the tree in the field. And this pasuk is in our Parsha. It's in our Parsha. Our Parsha talks about Ki ha'adam eitz hasadeh. And today we are going to try and understand the meaning of that pasuk. Not only the meaning of that pasuk, but how that pasuk helps us to identify and to connect to people. And the question is, if you want to receive some kind of advice, if you want to know to who you should turn when you want to understand Torah, when you want to understand mitzvot, if you want to get closer to Hashem, usually you're going to look for a certain rabbi, for a certain spiritual leader, for a spiritual mentor to help and guide you getting closer and closer to Hashem. But who should we turn to? How can we know, how can we tell if this person is worthy of me putting my faith in his hands? My whole connection to Hashem is in this person's hands. Because we know that connecting directly to Hashem, we do through prayer. When we daven, we connect directly to him. But it's not enough just connecting through davening, because we need someone that is openly connected to Hashem, that we can go through, that we can have a contact with him, and he's the one that will connect us to Hashem. This is the whole concept of leaders of the generation, leaders of the Jewish generation throughout the generations. And then there's also, who do you want to learn Torah from? Who do you want to study from? This will also help us to identify good friends, people that we can sit together around a table, and who we should stay away from, because the Rambam, the Maimonides, tells us that if someone has bad neighbors or bad friends, he should rather live in a desert, isolated from people, and not live amongst bad people, because the influence of bad people is worse than being alone. So that's the Maimonides. There's an interesting story. It's an interesting vort about who, it's connected to what we're going to be discussing, but who should we learn Torah from? So the vort is that the Medrash tells us that you should learn it from a rabbi who is like an angel. Torah yavakshu mipihu, imra isa. If you notice someone that is like a malach Hashem tzvois, like an angel of Hashem, Torah yavakshu mipihu, ask him to teach you Torah. In other words, you've got to find an angel. If you see a rabbi or someone that's like an angel, you've got to go and learn Torah from him. And again, the question is, how can I find an angel? Where can we find an angel? What does it mean if I find a rabbi that's like an angel, then I should learn Torah from him. So in order to understand that, there's a whole story about Manoach and his wife that we learned in the Navi, and we said in one of the Haftarot of our Parshiyot, we say this whole story about, if I'm not mistaken, it is about, see, I think it's about Shimshon, the great warrior, the Shimshon HaGibor, and his parents for many years did not have children. They didn't have children, and they were very sad and very upset. And one day, an angel reveals himself to the wife of Manoach, and he says, I'm an angel, you can ask for whatever you want. And at the beginning, she found it hard to believe that he is an angel. But after he came again and again, and I think he showed also a few miracles, so she believed, and then she convinced her husband to also believe this, that this is an angel, and they asked for a child. And it says that with all the miraculous things that he did, that didn't convince Manoach. Manoach, again, he was the husband, he was the father of Shimshon HaGibor. And basically what happened was that the Torah tells us that he blessed them with a blessing, and then he disappeared and he did not return. And the pasuk says, Oz yada Manoach, then Manoach knew that he is an angel. Ki malach Hashem tzvaisu. So once again, Manoach and his wife, this angel appears to them and tells them that he wants to give them a blessing. He does a few other miracles to prove that he's an angel. Manoach isn't convinced yet, but then he gives the blessing, disappears, never returns, and then Manoach says, now I know that he is an angel. So this is like an interesting word. It's a cute word that it says human beings, once they do something interesting, once they do something miraculous, once they do something that's impressive, they always come back for feedback, right? They want to say, well, how was this thing that I did? Did you like it? Did you enjoy it? Do you think I was good? That's the question of a human being usually. The angel, after all these miracles that he did, it says that he did not return. In other words, Manoach said, you know what? I know he's... That is the proof that he is actually an angel. Why is he actually an angel? Because he doesn't do it for the show. He doesn't want feedback on what he did. He disappears and he never returns. He did not return. Manoach knew, you know what? This is an angel. If it was a human being, he would say, well, how was my miracle? How was that miracle? How was this thing? So it's a cute word. And now we can understand who to learn Torah from. If it's an angel, in other words, if it's a rabbi that comes over after the shir and he doesn't ask, well, how was my shir? Did you enjoy my shir? What do you say about it? Do you have any compliment? Do you have any feedback? That is a rabbi. That is a rabbi that's like an angel. That he doesn't care what people think about it. And sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not, but he doesn't need the feedback from the crowd, from the people that are listening. Just excuse me for one moment. We're gonna... Okay. So back into our topic. Our topic is once again Ha'adam Eitz HaSadeh. We are compared to a tree, and that word was a word that's connected to what we are talking about, but that's just a general word. So basically, in order to understand Ki Ha'adam Eitz HaSadeh, it tells us, the Gemara tells us that a human being, a Talmid Chacham, a scholar that is decent, he is compared to a tree. And the question is, why are we compared to a tree?
Rabbi, your video is closed up.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Is this better?
Yes, Rabbi, thank you.
Perfect. So it says that the Gemara tells us, and this is basically what the Pasuk is teaching us, Ki ha'adam etz hasadeh, the human, the man is compared to a tree. And the question is why? How can we compare a human to a tree? There are two different species. We spoke about it last week, that there is the doimem, all the things in the world that are still, that they don't move. There's the tzomeach that grows. There's the chai that lives, that moves around from one place to another. And there is the medaber, the humans that talk. We aren't compared to trees. So why does the Torah compare us to trees? So let's talk about the advantage that Tzomeach has, that all the trees, the plants, and vegetables, anything that grows, what is so unique and special about them? So it's very interesting because there's something very unique. They are always connected to their source. They are always connected to the ground that gives them the energy, that gives them the life, that gives them the chayut. This is something that we don't see clearly by other species. We don't see it with doimem, with the things that are still. We don't see them with the chai, with the living. They can move from one place to another. They aren't always connected to their source of life. We don't even see it by human beings. We're not always connected to what keeps us alive. This is something, and if you would go into the walk in the streets of Rechavia, you would see that all the trees that wherever they're doing, whenever they're fixing the road or doing anything like that, they always cover the trees with like these metal fences that no one should touch the tree. Because the second that you would touch the tree, the second you would pull the tree out, you are basically killing the tree. Because the tree always has to be connected to its source. It always has to be connected to its source. And therefore, we've got to make sure that it's protected. And this is what is so unique and so special about the tzomeach, about the trees, and about the plants, and about the vegetables. They are connected to the source of life. But there's even something special, something more special when we're talking about the trees compared to vegetables, compared to plants, etc. Because trees maintain themselves, they are connected to their source, but they continue living for 30 years, 50 years, 60, 70. They can live for hundreds of years. A lot of the trees here in the neighborhood, by the way, they were planted 70 years ago, and that's why they are so special. They are 70 years old, 80 years old, could be 90 years old, 100. So this is what is so special about this tzomeach. Just forgive me for 1 second. I've got to bring a charger for the phone so it doesn't switch off. 1 moment. Okay, back in action. So as the phone, it also needs to have its source of life. You see, it can go on without the source of life, but you have to reconnect it. But again, the trees and all types of tzomeach constantly have to be connected to the ground, to their source of life, and without that, they will die. They won't live anymore. And this is what's unique about anything that grows. When we divide the world into 4 parts, into doimem, which is the ones that stay still, the chai, which are the living creatures that they move from one place to another, and they grow, and they aren't still in one place. They grow, they move, and even the human being that has the ability to talk, they aren't like the tzomeach. all the things that grow, that they are connected to their source constantly all the time. In ourselves, now what does this have to do? Again, our question is, why are we compared to the Tzomeach, to the eights, to the tree? Why are we compared to that? That's a low level. It's lower than the chai. It's lower than the living. It's lower than the animals. Why are we compared to that? And what does that have to do to a Talmid Chacham if we want to know who should our friends be, who should our rabbis be, etc., etc.? So in ourselves, in the human body, in the human being, we have also these parts to the world. It says Adam is like a small world. A human being has the whole world inside it. He has the doimem, what stays still. He has the tzomeach, and he has the chai. All of these things he has inside him. Where does he have them? So the doimem, for example, would be everything that stays still, like your hands, like your legs, the technical part of your being, the technical issues. That's like the lowest level, right? So it's not still, it doesn't stay still. It moves from one place to another, but your hands and your feet, etc., they don't have as much life, as much chayut as your midot, your nature has, your attributes have, and as your mind has. So those are the three levels: technical, hands, the legs, etc. B is our nature, our midot, as Hasidut tells us, the attributes, the personality of the person. The third level is the highest level, and that is our brain, our minds. So once again, the doimem is the hands, the tzomeach is our midot, our nature, our personality, our attributes. They grow. Why do they grow? Because we could take a small child, he's also got his nature. But his nature is that he wants candy, for example. He wants sweets. Once a person grows with age, he changes his midot. He doesn't change them totally. He still has his same nature, but now they grow. They turn from wanting simple things, from wanting just candies and sweets, into wanting money, wanting honor, wanting success, etc. A lot of these things are also good. There's nothing bad about them. Depends how we use them. So this has to do with the midot that grow. Each and every one of us has a certain particular midah that he's connected to, attribute that he is connected to. Some people are full of kindness. They are big machnisei orchim. They have a good eye on everyone. Other people have a sense of gvura, which is a bit harshness, which also isn't always bad. It's just symptom, a bit more, everything has to be in its place. Everything has to be ordered. You don't just randomly give people whatever they want. Everything has to be according to the book, according to the rules. That is the sense of gvura, of harshness. It's not being harsh, it's not being mean, but it's being more restricted or something like that. So some people have a lot of rachamim, mercy, tiferet, which is a combination between chesed and gvura. These things are the eights. These are the trees that grow. They stay in one place because you cannot change a personality of a person. You cannot change a person from being kind into being harsh. A person is kind if he likes to give, if he wants to give people more than what they deserve, he's always going to take this approach. You can't change it. Compared to the person that's harsh, that he says, I'll give, but I'll give what he deserves. That's a different approach to everything in life. It's a different approach to everything in life. And usually it's very, very hard to change. It's impossible to change. By the way, our mission in the world isn't to change our personality, isn't to change our attributes. It is to focus on our hands and legs. What do we technically do? Do we serve Hashem or not? Changing our personality is just too hard. That's not what Hashem wants us to do. In the times of Mashiach, that is something that we'll attend to. That's a whole other subject that we could discuss and talk about. So once again, the human has doimem, which is his hands, tzomeach, that grows, which is his nature, his midot, that grows. It doesn't move from one place to another. If you are connected to the source of chesed, you will be chesed, gvura, etc., with all the other midot. Then we've got the mind of the person, his seichel. His seichel, his mind, his brain, that is compared to chai, to the animals that also move from one place to another. The mind moves from one place to another because it's objective, not subjective. It's not connected to your nature. You can think about being good. You can think about being bad. You can think about anything because you're not connected to it. That's the power of the mind. The mind is to search for the truth, even though it doesn't fit with my personality. I can still understand the truth. Famous stories about a person that sat in a lecture and he told the people, I'm going to solve your problem of smoking within 1 hour. And he gives them a whole lecture, how bad it is, how it ruins their life, how financially it's not good, medically it's not good, etc., etc. And after the lesson, he walks outside and the first thing he does is he takes out his cigarette, lights it up, and there he's with a cigarette in his hand. How could that be? You just spoke against that. You just explained to us. You just convinced 20 people to quit smoking, and they quit smoking. So why do you smoke? Because what he talked about is in his brain, it's in his mind. It's not connected to his personality. He can talk about it, but he doesn't have to do it. Two separate things. You can understand something. You can even tell other people, convince them that this is what's right, this is what's good. But it doesn't always apply to you. It does not always apply to you because the mind is objective. The mind isn't connected to us deeply. That's why I can think about theories without them relating to me and becoming part of my actual life. Sometimes the mind has the power to influence the nature. Yes, that also happens. And that's why people could quit smoking through a lecture, understanding why it is bad for them. But they don't have to. The person that's giving the lecture could give the lecture and say, this is a theory. This is also the part that Hasidus teaches us, not to leave our understanding of Hashem in theory, not to leave it up there and say, you know what, I understand that Hashem exists, but it's not going to affect my daily life. It's not going